Okay, welcome to Math 20 again. This is section 5.2 in our textbook for Math 20, and we're going to talk about rates and unit rates or unit pricing. Okay, so the first thing to notice in our last section about ratios, we could always reduce our fractions if we could make them have the same units. So a rate is a comparison of two denominant numbers with different units. So just like a ratio, we're comparing using division. So a comparison of two different types of units. Sorry there, my handwriting got a little messed up. Okay, so they'll never have, they can never be the same. So you think about rate. Rate is very much like how many hours do how many miles per hour do you drive? If I compare 60 miles, and by the way, the word per is means divide or out of 1 hour, and you usually see this 60 mph, the m miles per hour, right? So this one is actually called a unit rate. Now, if I go on a road trip, I might not be able to drive 60 miles per hour all of the time. It's a unit rate though, because this is for every 1 hour. If I said to you that I went on a road trip and I drove for 2 hours and I drove 120 miles in 2 hours. So there's my ratio comparing the two numbers, but it's a rate because I cannot make miles into hours and I cannot make hours into miles. So just like what we saw before with the ratios, if I could make hours into minutes or minutes into hours, then I'm able to compare the same kinds of things. When it comes to rates, the units are always going to be different and they're not going to be able to be made into the same kind of unit. But just like with ratios, we can still reduce these. You might notice that this one reduces down to 60 miles per 1 hour, and I must keep those units on there because again they don't cancel out. They're not the same unit. So the unit rate is the reduced fraction where the denominator is 1. So let's come up with some different kinds of examples. Well, a really good example of this is when you go to the grocery store. Okay, if you were going to buy bananas, let's say that you spent I don't know how much bananas cost right now, but I'm just going to make it up. Okay, so let's say you spent at the grocery store $5 on bananas and you bought, I don't know, 10 pounds. A unit price is going to be the price per pound. How much does it cost you for 1 pound? So if we reduce this fraction, 5 divided by 10, since we're using money, we can use decimals here. 50 cents per pound is how much the bananas cost for bananas. Okay? Bananas. It's always makes sense when I can get the spelling wrong right in the middle of a video. Bananas. Okay? That's one of my favorite examples. When you go to the gas station, there's always a certain price per gallon. That's going to be a unit price. Whenever you do go grocery shopping and you actually see you have like a big bag of cereal, versus the small bag. So you have a big bag versus a small bag. Is it cheaper to buy the small bag? Well, usually it's less money to buy the small bag, but you're getting less of that item. So what we often want to do is compare the unit price. Now, usually what you'll see is, they'll list, okay, this costs $3, this bag costs $5, bag of item, but they'll have a little unit price in the corner. And it actually makes me mad when I'm at the grocery store and they don't have that. Some stores don't show you that. But, you know, let's say that this is a pound right here, 1 pound. And actually a pound is the same thing as 16 ounces. And over here, the small bag is only a quarter of a pound, 0.25 pounds. So that would be 4 ounces. And if we wanted to, this is where I might also get a calculator out because this is not becoming the best mental math. But if I want to find the unit price and I want to compare, you know, which one of these is actually a better deal, then what I could do is I could find, this is the price is $5 per ounce, 16 ounces. The price here, the rate is $3 for 4 ounces. So a lot of times what you'll see then is you'll see this decimal number in the corner of the price tag label that has the unit price on it. And so for the unit price on the big bag, I would have $5 divided by 16 ounces gives me basically 31 cents. Well, we'll put the whole thing. 31 cents per ounce. Now let's do $3 divided by 4 ounces, and you're seeing that this is a lot more expensive per ounce, 75 cents per ounce. And that happens a lot of times. So next time you go grocery shopping, notice the difference when you look at that little price tag label. The smaller one usually comes out to being more expensive. So that's the concept. If you buy in bulk, you actually save money. Okay, so lots of different options for these rates, but again, the difference between a rate and a ratio is just this idea that the units cannot be made into each other. Okay, now let's say two people went on a road trip and they went 2 different places. Okay, so one person drove 300 miles in 4 hours, and the other person, this is person 1 versus person 2, drove 150 miles in 3 hours. Now right away you might be able to tell who drove faster, but again, this is another example of when we might want a unit rate. A unit rate will tell me how many miles per hour did they go. So if I do 300 divided by 4, I get 75 miles per hour. Okay, they were definitely speeding. And then the other person, 150 divided by 3, this person went 50 miles per hour. And that right there, the bottom 2 would count as a unit rate, and that's because the denominator is 1. So that tells me how fast they went for every 1 hour. Okay, what if I was comparing, let's say, let's do a sports example. Okay, so let's say that Tom got 50 points in 9 games, and Jill got 150 points in 18 games. Okay, who scored more points per game? So again, if I find the amount of points per game, that's going to be a unit rate. And in order to do that, I'm going to divide 50 divided by 9 equals, he got an average of 5.5 repeating points per game, Tom did, whereas Jill, 150 divided by 18, she got 8.3 repeating points per game. And all I did to find that out was I just took my calculator, I type in 150, I use my divide, and you see that brings up the fraction, divided by 8. Oops, that was 18 before. 150 divided by 18. She got more points per game. So really that's also the same idea as like an average, because of course she didn't score 8.3 points in every game, and who even knows what game they were playing. Maybe it's a game where you want lower amounts of points. Who knows? Okay, so that pretty much concludes our talk on ratios.